Alright, so I hope everyone has the files that we talked about, personal.zip. Does everyone have personal.zip? Does anyone not have personal.zip? If you don't have it, please raise your hand. Okay. So what we need to do now is we go to our HTML folder, and okay, come to think of it, I don't have personal.zip. Okay, so what I want you all to do is to go to personal.zip, open personal.zip, and open personal.zip and open the HTML folder that we created earlier, right? And let's just copy that into this HTML folder, right? Let's copy personal into the HTML folder. Can you all do that? Basically, yeah, just. Alright, is everyone good? If you're having any problem with that, please feel free to ask a facilitator. Okay, so we can close personal.zip now and just open this folder, personal. Alright? And now, okay, first of all, let's just open this. So you see this HTML file right now? Let's just do a right click, open with Chrome. Okay? And this is sort of like a template page. It has a name, some descriptions and stuff, and a photo taken by Cedric back there. Cedric, wave them. Yeah, say hi. Okay. So actually, you can zoom out. That's a that's a nice photo. And you know, we've listed down some hobbies and stuff here. So. And now let's open the same thing in Sublime Text. Okay, so we can do an open file. Desktop HTML personal underscore blank. All right. Okay, and that's the code for this website for this web page. And I'm sure you recognize pretty much all of this stuff. Well, most of the stuff except for this thing, for example. See this? There's an ampersand copy semicolon. So this is what we call an HTML entity. Okay, and the purpose of an entity is basically to sort of represent a symbol like this, a special symbol like this copyright symbol here, right? So that's what this copy does. There are plenty of other entities. You can look them up. You can Google them. You can look them up on MDN. All right, so. Now this page, so what we're going to do now is, well, this is going to be some fun stuff. We're going to customize it to our own selves, right? So yeah, just take your time right now and let's all write our own stuff here. So I can just write my own details here, and just go ahead and customize your own page. I'm going to give you some time to do that. So. Yeah, let's all add. You can add your name here. You can say. Huh. So yeah, we can all just go and add stuff. You can customize a description here. You can. Maybe I could say. So yeah, just feel free to customize it to whatever you want, and Of course, here you'll notice that we already have some classes and stuff here. I'm going to show you what we're going to use that for. And oh, this is a new element. We have a list here. It's an unordered. So UL is an unordered list, right? And LI. So all the LI elements inside that are list items. So, and you can actually see what that looks like here. It looks like this. So yeah, again, just free to add whatever you want. Following Z. No. So you can all just customize it to your own desire. And fun facts. Anyone want to add any fun facts about themselves? Okay. Right. Are you guys still customizing your page, or are you almost done? If you're almost done, then we can actually now go on to add links. All right. So you can add, maybe if you have a Twitter. I don't have Twitter, so I'm just going to remove this link. All right. So I'm going to remove that, and instead maybe I'll add. So you can add your own Facebook links, your own Facebook profiles here. You do that and do an href equals to, do a facebook.com/my name or my username, whatever that is. So you can do something like that. You can do some pretty cool stuff. And so what would you do about email? Right. So email is not exactly just it's not really a URL, right? So what we do for that is something interesting. So for that too, we'll add a link. All right. So I want you all to do this. Hopefully you're done with the customization and all by now, personalization by now. So you can add a link to your email here. And the way you do that is you add an anchor tag before email and close it after email. And the reference here is interesting. The reference starts with this word mail to. So that's MAILTO, mail to. All right, and colon some guy at somedomain.com. Right. So you can actually do something like that. And when you do that and you save and refresh, so you have a link to your email, some guy at somedomain.com. And if I click on this link, it loads up my default mail client. Right. For some of you it might so go ahead and click on it. For some of you it might open up Gmail. For some of you it might open up, I don't know, Outlook. So for some of you it might open up something on I don't know what your default client is. But anyway, let's just close that. No point. Okay, but here's the thing, that might not be the greatest idea, because if you add an email like that, then there are monsters out there, right? So they'll go to your website, they'll see they'll read your email, and they'll read your email links, your email address, and soon enough you'll be up to date with the latest news on a Nigerian prince. So I don't know if you all know about that. Basically they'll spam you. So all right, now let's do something interesting here. So the first thing we're going to do is, you see there's this div just inside body that's surrounding everything else. All right, it's closed just before body, right? So what we're going to do with this div is we're going to give it a class. All right, and we're going to call it div class equals container. Now this is a very common practice in web development, where you wrap everything inside your body inside a div called container. So container is often a commonly used name. You can name it anything else, of course, but in this case I want you to name it container. All right. We're going to save this. It needs to have the same name, container, right now, because We're going to do something with this later that that requires it to be called container, right? And that's lowercase. Okay, so has everyone named it container, given it a class container? Not an ID, but a class, right? Now let's add a style sheet. Right? Can we all add a style tag in the head? And now let's add some rules for container. Okay, so let's do some. Let's say, so right now this page is basically starting from this end and it extends till the end of the page, and it's really not that great. So you know, you can see it here. So this text extends basically till the end of the page, and what I can do to sort of fix this is I can say container width 960 pixels, right? And when I do that, when I save this and refresh, and you see, okay, it changed just a little bit. The reason is, okay, the screen isn't very wide at the moment, but you can still notice the change, right? And now it's sort of restricted here. So in fact, okay, ignore the image for a moment. There's a reason why the image is still that big, but we've sort of wrapped the entire page into a container that has a fixed width, right? That's what we've done here. Now maybe we want to center the container. Okay, again, because it's a very it's not a very wide sort of page, that's why it's a very sort of screen, that's why this won't be that easy to notice. But okay, let's center it. How do we center it? We're going to do something. We're going to say margin right. Okay, margin right auto. Okay, and a margin left auto. So what this does is, this tells the browser to automatically adjust the left and right margins, and what the browser will do in that case is that will center the div in the page. And maybe we can say margin top is 0, right? You don't need to say pixels here, because when you just say 0, the browser understands that you want no margin. And margin bottom 0, right? Can we all do that? Has everyone caught up? Okay, I'm just going to wait for you guys. All right. Assuming everyone's caught up. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Save and refresh. And you see that it's sort of centered just a little bit. And in fact, if you want to see what exactly happened here, you can always fire up the inspector, and you can look at this div, and you can see that it's sort of centered. It has equal borders on both sides. So yeah, that's how that works. Now let's say we want to make this a little neater. Oh, by the way, so I typed 4 different rules here. That doesn't look very great. That doesn't look very efficient, does it? So actually, there's something I can do about this. Instead of these 4, actually, I'm not going to remove them at the moment. I'm just going to show you what else. What I can say margin. Then I can say 0 auto, 0 auto. So what is this doing? So basically, if you specify these 4 values in front of margin, what it assumes is that the first one is top, right? Next one is right. So auto is right. Next one is bottom, and the last one is left. So this is clockwise from the top, basically, right? So that's why you name this. And let's remove all of these rules, these other rules. Save it and refresh, and it looks the same. Why? Because this thing and what we wrote earlier are the same. In fact, we can reduce this further. If you reduce this to just 0 auto, what the browser does is it's actually smart enough to detect that 0 is top and bottom, and auto is left and right. So this is pretty cool stuff. And of course, if you do only one, then you've already seen how that works. It gives you the same margin on all 4 sides. So 0 and auto, that's all I really need for this. Refresh, and it still looks the same. Alright, now let's maybe give this some padding. Let's say 15 pixels. And let's give it a border. Again, I'm going to use the same shortcut that I used last time. Solid black. 1 pixel, solid black, right? And let's go back and refresh. And you have a border around the page now. So again, just actually wait. Let's just fix the image for a moment. Let's just fix that. That's quite irritating. Okay, so again, please understand this is a temporary fix that we're giving the image. This is not good, but it's just a temporary thing, all right? So inside image, we're going to add another attribute. Inside the img tag, we're going to add an attribute width, right? So we say width equals 800 pixels, all right? Just say 800 pixels inside quotes, 800 px. Okay, can we all do that inside the img tag? First of all, has everyone located the img tag? If anyone's having trouble, please just feel free to raise your hand, or I can just show you again. So the img tag is basically inside the container. You go to the class, the div row fluid. Inside that, in the first div inside that, you have this img tag. So does anyone have any trouble with? Is anyone having any trouble with that? Okay. So if we've all specified the width as 800 pixels, we're going to save this and refresh. And okay, this looks considerably better than it did before. So, all right. And what we're going to do now is, so you can see that we have these different lots of divs here that say span 4. All right. Now the reason for that name is something that you'll see. You see that later, but these are sort of like boxes inside this bigger thing called row fluid. All right. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give them some styles. Give some styles to span 4. Specify some styles for span 4. So let's say dot span 4. Let's say I wanted to have a width of 150 pixels. All right. So each of those divs that is inside row fluid should have a width of 150 pixels. First of all, let's see. So this is the, I think, yeah, this is the first span 4. This is the second, and this is the third. All right. So let's just give, yeah, we've given this width, save, and refresh. And now what you can see is, okay, the image is still messed up, but the others have been sort of, they've shrunk to this 150 pixel width, right? So okay, let's fix the image again. Go back to the width, and instead of 800, let's say 150, right? Let's save that and refresh. Okay, so what I have now is these boxes are basically smaller now, right? And well, they still don't look very great, but we're going to fix that. What I actually want to see now is I sort of want them side by side, you know. So the idea is that you have this thing at the top, this whole thing at the top, then you have these 3 sections side by side, and then at the bottom I have this footer, right? That's the idea here. So what we want to do for that is we want to use something called the display rule here. Let's say display block. Now this is a very important property for, this is a very important rule for any div, because, so okay, display block is actually the default rule. Okay, every div, if you don't specify otherwise, it'll have a display block rule attached to it. So this is the default one. So if you refresh, you'll see the same thing. It won't change. Now what happens if in display I say none? Save that. Any guesses? It disappears, right? And well, I don't want it to disappear, but I want them to be side by side. right? I want all of these to be side by side. So what I do here, I say display inline block. So that's inline hyphen block, right? Let's save that. Has everyone typed that out? Let me have that down. And now when I refresh, they're side by side. That's nice. Well, it still doesn't look nice at all, but yeah, they're at least side by side. Okay, let's at least let's give them a border so that we can see them. 1px solid black. Okay, so giving it a border now. Refresh, so you can see those blocks, right? So these are all, and all of these divs have an inline block style displays. Yeah. So let's say we want to do one more thing. Let's you see there's this whole area, this big area in which these three divs are present, and so right now they're all aligned to the left. Okay, so what we can also do is we can make them float to the right. Okay, and how we're going to do that is in span 4 we're going to add a property float right. Right, can we do that? Save and refresh, and they've all floated to the right, and you have something that looks like a complete mess. That looks absolutely terrible. So, okay, why is this? Why is it so? The reason is, you see all these span 4s are inside this other div called row fluid, but have we specified anything for row fluid? No, row fluid has no styles at all. So row fluid, the browser doesn't know what to do about row fluid. That's why we're having this trouble. So what we're going to do now is we're going to specify some styles for row fluid. And what we want row fluid to do is give it a width 100%. Right? It's not pixels, it's percent. So what does 100% mean here? The idea behind 100% here is that so this div is going to fit 100% of the width of its own container, right? In this case, that container is this div, incidentally called container. So it's going to fit the entire container. And let's say we give it a height of 500 pixels, right? Can we all do that? Save and refresh. That's okay, maybe a little cool. Alright, so first of all we're going to change this back to left. The span 4 float property, it should be left, alright? Float left. Float right does not look that good. And let's add some new properties. Let's say we want to add some padding here. Let's give it a padding of 15 pixels. And let's give it a margin, alright? Basically, we want them to be separated from each other. So let's give it a margin. We don't need any margin on the top. Maybe there can be the left and right margins could be 10 pixels, alright? So we save this here and refresh. And alright, they're spaced out a little bit, but this is still not that great. So what else I can do is I can change the span width, right? So this is still pretty small. These are pretty small spans. They're still pretty small divs, right? They're not wide enough. So I can make this wider. In fact, I can make this 250 pixels, right? So just change the width, the span for width, change it to 250 pixels. It must have been 150. Change it to 250. Right? Save and refresh. That looks a lot neater. Right? That looks. I mean, it's still disgusting, but it looks a lot neater than it did before. All right. So, but here's the thing: we can actually keep on working on this, right? You can keep on working. You can keep on adding more rules, adding more styles. You can adjust it more. You can make it a lot neater. You can really slog it out, just go all out CSS. But there's no need to do that, because here's the thing: there are a lot of other people who probably have a much better understanding of CSS, who have done this stuff for you. they've created this really cool thing called Bootstrap, right? And we're going to see what Bootstrap is. So first of all, now this might be a little painful, but you need to remove all of these styles. Okay, delete this entire style thing. That's all right. Don't worry. You'll see something better. Huh? Oh, actually, yeah. If you really like it that much, feel free to copy it. Yeah. I'm going to delete it. Right? You don't want to have any styles in the head. All right? And remove this width from the image. Okay? Right? So now it looks exactly like it looked before, but it still has the personalizations that you gave it. You know, you added your own name, you added your own description. It still has that stuff. Save that and refresh. It should go back to the initial style. Can we all do that? Don't worry, it will look a lot better very soon. Okay. Has everyone done that? Okay, again, if anyone didn't follow that, remove the style that was there in the head, remove the entire thing, and remove the width attribute you had in the image, right? You want to remove all that stuff, and you want to refresh, and it should look like it did, like it looked before. Okay. Are we good here? Let's have this stuff. All right. Now we're going to do something really awesome. So, so you've seen two sort of ways in which you can add styles, right? One is that you added inline. We saw why that was a bad idea. The other way is the other thing you can do is you can add the style in your in the head. Basically, you can add a style sheet in the head. But imagine you're running maybe a bigger website, and you have a lot of pages. Do you really want to add the same styles to a whole bunch of pages? No, right? That doesn't seem like a very great idea. So what you can do instead is you can add a style sheet. So, and you can link to it. So you can link to a style sheet. So what I want you to do here is I want you to add a new line in the head, and say type link link tab, right? So that will, again, Sublime Text will fix that up for you. And now that says href, right? So that means I need to give it a reference to the style sheet that I want to load. So a style sheet is basically a file. Usually it will be something .css, which will specify rules just like the rules that we specified inside the style tag. In this case, if you go back to the personal folder, you'll see that in the same folder as personal blank, we have something called bootstrap.css, right? So what you want to do here is you can just say href equals bootstrap.css. Don't save it right now. Okay, all right, fine, go ahead, save it, okay, and refresh. So did everyone get that? Sorry? Oh, right, yeah. So, okay, again, this is what I did. I said I'm going to remove this again now, okay? Save. I was back in this condition, all right? What I did was I added a new line in the head. I said link, and I pressed tab, right? Link tab, right? If you don't have that, you can actually just type this stuff out. You can see what's here. You can just type this stuff out, all right? And it's href equals bootstrap.css, all right? That's bootstrap.css. I'm going to do that. Let's save this, and when you refresh, magic. Cool, right? This is really cool. I mean, Bootstrap is okay. So why did this happen, by the way? So the reason why it worked like this was because of these classes that we have here. So bootstrap.css actually has rules for all of these classes. It has a rule for container, it has a rule for row fluid, it has a rule for span4. In fact, we can actually have a look at bootstrap.css. So go to file, open file, bootstrap.css, right? Can we all do that? In Sublime Text, Go to File, Open File, bootstrap.css, and this is actually, yeah, this is Bootstrap. This is the stuff that did the magic that you saw there. In fact, you should be able to see. So you have something for span 4 here, right? And if you look around, you also find a row fluid. Row fluid. You see? You have row fluid here. So this is actually a huge style sheet that specifies a whole bunch of styles, and we can actually use some pretty cool stuff here. So let's go to the Bootstrap website. So just go to Google Bootstrap. Okay. So we Google Bootstrap, open this web, the first link, and this is again one of the really cool things about Bootstrap, that the developers made a really beautiful documentation. It's really easy to learn Bootstrap. It's really easy to learn new styles. It's really easy to learn, what classes you can add to what elements to get some really cool results. And let me wait for this thing to load up. By the way, does everyone have that? If anyone's having any problems with that, please raise your hands and yeah, get some help. Ask for some help. All right, we good? Okay. So, has everyone opened the Bootstrap website? Just Google Bootstrap, and it's the first link. All right. Does everyone have it? You don't need to. Well, if you want, you can copy the URL, or you can just Google Bootstrap, and it's the first link. All right. And here's one of the coolest things about Bootstrap. Say I go to scaffolding. All right. You remember the whole row fluid thing? So you actually have a full description of what that was, what that does, and you can also learn some new things here. So let's go to base CSS, and let's go to images, right? And when you do that, so this is base CSS here. At the top you choose base CSS, and at the left you choose images. Okay, fair enough. And so here's something called image rounded. Now, if you go back to our page, to our document, we see that our image also has this class image rounded. And you know what that image rounded is actually doing? Image rounded is the thing that's. So you see this. There's a curve here. There's a small curve here. This is what image rounded. Yeah, so this is what image rounded does. All right. And let's change that. So as you can see, they're given some other options. So there's an image circle as well, right? So there's an IMG circle. Let's change this IMG rounded to IMG circle. Save. Go to the page. Oh, sorry, that's the old page. And refresh. And that's, so the idea there is that it's as much of a circle as it can be. So that's pretty neat, right? Right, so in fact we can add more styles as well. Let's say, okay, you see this text here, this so there's this paragraph, right, which is basically like a description sort of thing. So maybe we could say let's look for some interesting style here. So if we go to typography in base CSS, you have something called lead. Right? So it means if you give a paragraph a class lead, it should do something cool. So this is a very important sort of paragraph, right? Here, let's give this a class lead, right? L-E-A-D, lead. So can we all do that? Save. Go to a page and just look at this area, right? Look at this part. Refresh. It looks a lot cooler now, right? Because so basically, what does this say? This says that, yeah, this says that you make the paragraph stand out, and well, it did make the paragraph stand out. So okay, let's remove this for a moment and let's see one more really cool style. Right? So what I want you to do is I want you to change this P to actually wait. Let's go and look at. Okay, let's go and look at some of the more advanced stuff. So you go to components, and you go to typography, and here it shows something called hero unit. This looks pretty cool. So this says that you change a div to hero unit, and it does some pretty cool stuff inside that. So let's do that. Let's call this div. Oh, first of all, have you removed the class lead from the paragraph? All right. If you've done that, then let this div outside that paragraph, right? The first div, the div that contains, well, you know, these 3 words and this description and stuff. The div just below your name. Let's add a class here. Class equals hero-unit. Okay. Can we all do that? So in this div, we're going to add a class hero-unit. Right? Now save this, go to the page, and magic. This looks really cool, right? So yeah, so Bootstrap does a lot of really cool stuff. Was everyone able to get that? Did all of you get that? If anyone didn't, does anyone want me to repeat that? Wait, I'll do it anyway. I'll repeat that anyway. So before this, so this is what it looked like. In this div, I added a class equals hero unit, right? I saved that and hit reload, and that's what I got. So this is cool stuff. So all right, I think there's so the best thing about Bootstrap, of course, is that you can read up on a whole variety of things, right? You can add. There's no end to what you can add. In fact, this website itself, the Bootstrap website, is using Bootstrap, so they have some pretty cool stuff going on here. You know, menus like this. So this is pretty cool. Do you see what's happening in this menu? When I scroll down to a particular point, say I scroll down to button groups, this thing automatically changed to button groups. So it does a lot of cool stuff like that. So you can always just go to the website and see what you can do, right? It makes it very easy to add really cool styles. So let me do one more thing. In this folder, you'll see that there's a bootstrap.css and there's a bootstrap responsive.css, right? So what we're going to do here, okay, in fact, let's first see what, say I minimize this a little bit, not minimize this, but I make this a little smaller, and I move this thing around. This thing, my container stays the same, right? The container is still 960 pixels, so this stuff doesn't really change. You know, you still have three columns here. The third one is kind of, you know, you're kind of hiding the third one when you sort of change the size here, resize this window. But if I add, okay, so I had one link to bootstrap.css, right? Let me add another link tab, right? Can we all do that? And now you're adding this. Remember, don't remove the previous one. We're adding this new one. We're not removing the previous one. Bootstrap responsive.css. Okay. Do you all have that? Saying bootstrap responsive.css. We're adding that link as well. Save. And now when you refresh, see what it does there. Now this will automatically change the size depending on basically it will change the style depending on the size of your window. So this is pretty cool stuff, right? And so yeah, this is pretty cool CSS. And well, yeah, so just feel free to look at the documentation and experiment. And so that was Bootstrap, and you have your personal web page here, right? That's your personal web page. You can do anything with it. So okay, we're going to take one more break now. Let's say, do we want to take a break, or we can actually just go into the a short description of HTML5. Okay. Okay. Okay, actually, yeah, we'll just take a 5-minute break, just 5 minutes. Yeah.